Chen had been staring at the same flickering console for 6 hours straight when she finally allowed herself to think about her daughter. The communication station orbiting the forgotten moon of Helios 7 was not supposed to be a place where thoughts wandered, but after 3 months of isolation, Maya had learned that the mind goes where it needs to go, regulations be damned. Outside the reinforced viewport, the stars stretched in their eternal silence, indifferent to the small human woman monitoring subspace frequencies in a metal box that smelled of recycled air and instant coffee. This was not where she had imagined herself at 42 years old. This was not the life she had promised Emily when she kissed her daughter goodbye at the shuttle port on Earth. The memory hit her harder than usual tonight. Emily's face, 13 years old and trying so hard not to cry. The way her small hand had gripped Maya's sleeve. The words that still echoed in every quiet moment. "Mom, please don't go. Please." But Maya had gone. Single mothers working technical support positions did not turn down contracts that paid triple the standard rate, even if it meant a year away from home. Even if it meant missing Emily's 14th birthday. Even if it meant being 30,000 light years away when your daughter needed you most. The console beeped. Another automated freighter checking in from the outer rim. Maya logged it mechanically, her fingers moving through the routine they had performed 8,000 times since she arrived at this godforsaken post. The Galactic Transit Authority did not care that she was lonely. They did not care that the last time she had spoken to another living soul was 3 weeks ago, when the supply shuttle dropped off her monthly rations. They cared that she monitored communications and kept the beacon active for ships passing through this sector. She was furniture, a biological component in a system that could have been automated but was cheaper to staff with desperate humans willing to take hazard pay. Maya pulled up the personal message queue on her secondary screen. The station's communication array was powerful enough to punch a signal all the way back to Earth, but the delay was brutal. Send a message today, get a response in 4 days if you were lucky. The time lag made conversations feel like shouting into a void, but it was all she had. She opened a new message window and began to type, her fingers moving faster now, driven by the pressure building behind her eyes. "My dearest Emily, happy birthday, sweetheart. I know this message will arrive 3 days late, but I need you to know that I was thinking of you. I am always thinking of you. I know you are angry with me. I know you do not understand why I had to leave. Someday, when you are older, I hope you will see that everything I do is for you. Every day I spend in this metal coffin floating in space, every lonely night staring at stars I cannot name, every moment I am not there to hold you, it is all for you." Maya paused, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. The words were flowing now, faster than she could think them, pulled from some deep well of loneliness she usually kept locked away. "You are the strongest person I know, Emily. You are braver than I could ever be. When your father left us, you did not break. You helped me pack up our apartment. You made jokes to keep me from crying. You are 14 years old, and you have more courage in your little finger than most adults have in their entire lives. I am so proud of you. I am so sorry I am not there. I am so sorry that you have to stay with Aunt Jennifer and that you have to change schools and that your friends probably think I abandoned you. I did not abandon you. I will never abandon you. Every credit I earn out here goes into your future. College, medical school if you still want that. A life where you do not have to choose between being there for the people you love and keeping food on the table. I am trying to break the cycle, baby. I am trying to give you choices I never had." The stars outside seemed to press closer, their light cold and distant. Maya's reflection in the viewport looked small and fragile, a ghost floating in the darkness. Some days I wonder if I made the right choice. Some days I think I should have stayed and figured it out somehow. But then I remember the eviction notices. I remember the empty refrigerator. I remember your face when I told you we might have to move to the shelters, and I know why I am here. I am here because you deserve better. You deserve everything. I love you more than words can say. I love you more than stars in the sky. I love you more than all the distance between us. Keep being brave, sweetheart. Keep being you. I will be home before you know it. We will make up for lost time. We will do all the things I promised. We will go to the beach. We will eat too much ice cream. We will stay up late watching those terrible horror movies you love and I hate. We will be okay. I promise we will be okay. All my love, Mom." Maya sat back, her vision blurred. The message was too long, too emotional, too raw. Emily would probably roll her eyes at the melodrama. Teenagers did not want to hear their mothers pour their hearts out in desperate messages from space. But Maya needed to say it. She needed Emily to know. She moved the cursor to the send button, then hesitated. The message would go through the station's communication array, bounce through 3 relay stations, and arrive at Aunt Jennifer's apartment in Chicago 4 days from now. 4 days for light to crawl across the galaxy, carrying the weight of everything Maya could not say in person. Her finger hovered over the send key. She pressed it. The screen flashed. Message sent. Maya closed her eyes and leaned back in her chair, feeling the emptiness of the station settle around her like a heavy blanket. Somewhere, 30,000 light years away, Emily was living her life, going to school, making new friends, learning to be okay without her mother, growing up in ways Maya would only hear about in delayed messages and stilted video calls. The console beeped again. Routine. Automatic. The universe continuing its indifferent spin. Maya opened her eyes and returned to work, logging another freighter, another automated beacon check, another piece of data in the vast stream of information flowing through the galaxy. She was already thinking about dinner, about whether she could stomach another packet of reconstituted protein, when the console screamed. Not beeped. Screamed. Every alarm on the communication array activated simultaneously. Red lights flooded the small station. The proximity sensors were going insane, registering multiple massive objects emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system. Maya's training kicked in before her brain could process the terror. She killed the alarms and pulled up the long-range scanners, her hands shaking as she tried to understand what she was seeing. Ships. Dozens of ships. No, hundreds of ships. Massive capital vessels tearing holes in reality as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their energy signatures so powerful that the station's sensors were redlining just trying to track them. This was not a trade convoy. This was not a patrol fleet. This was an armada. Maya's mouth went dry as the identification protocols returned results. Th'karr signatures. Every single ship bore the energy profile of the Hegemony, the vast alien empire that controlled half the known galaxy with ruthless efficiency. But these were not standard military vessels. These were something else. The central ship, massive beyond comprehension, carried a signature that made Maya's blood freeze. The Sovereign's personal battle fleet. Overlord Kazreth himself was here. Maya could not breathe, could not think. The most powerful being in the galaxy had just appeared in her backwater sector, with enough firepower to sterilize a dozen worlds. The Th'karr Hegemony did not negotiate. They did not visit. They conquered. They destroyed. They took what they wanted and left ash in their wake. And they were here. The communication array lit up with an incoming transmission. Priority Alpha. Direct channel. The kind of signal that punched through every protocol and demanded immediate response. Maya stared at the flashing indicator, her mind racing. She was a low-level technician on a forgotten observation post. She had no authority, no training for this, no idea what to do when a genocidal alien warlord appeared in your sky and demanded to talk. Her hand moved to the accept button. What choice did she have? Ignore the transmission and die when they vaporized the station? Answer and die when they decided she was not worth keeping alive? She pressed accept. The main screen dissolved into static, then resolved into an image that made every instinct in Maya's body scream to run. The face looking back at her was not human, not even close. Overlord Kazreth of the Th'karr Hegemony was 9 feet of angular alien predator, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming like polished obsidian in the harsh light of his command deck. 4 eyes, arranged in a vertical line along his elongated skull, fixed on her with an intensity that felt like being dissected. His mandibles clicked softly, a sound Maya had heard in 1,000 horror stories about the Th'karr. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship stretched into darkness, filled with alien crew members and technology that made human engineering look like children playing with blocks. But Maya could not look away from those eyes. They were studying her with something that might have been curiosity or hunger. She could not tell. The translator kicked in a moment later, rendering Kazreth's clicking speech into flat, emotionless English. You sent me a message, human. Maya's brain stuttered. Message? She had not sent any messages except, oh God, oh no, the personal message, to Emily. She had pressed send, and then the console had beeped, and she had gotten distracted by the routine check-in, and she had not verified the routing end. Her eyes snapped to the communication logs, her stomach dropping as she saw the impossible truth displayed in cold digital text. Message transmitted to diplomatic channel 774. Direct recipient, Sovereign Kazreth, Th'karr Hegemony, personal communication array. She had sent her message to her daughter to the Overlord of the Th'karr Hegemony. She had poured her heart out about being a lonely single mother trying to do right by her kid, and she had sent it directly to the most feared tyrant in the galaxy. Maya's voice came out as a whisper. There was a mistake. I did not mean... I was trying to send a message to my daughter, and I am so sorry. Please, it was an accident. Kazreth's mandibles clicked again, faster this time. The sound sent ice down Maya's spine. On the screen behind him, she could see movement. Other Th'karr officers turning to watch. This was entertainment for them. A stupid human about to die for her incompetence. An accident, Kazreth repeated. The translator rendered his tone as neutral, but something in the way his eyes narrowed told Maya she had said the wrong thing. You expect me to believe that a message of such intensity, such raw emotional content, was sent to me by mistake? Yes. Maya forced the word out, her throat tight. I am a communication technician. I was sending a personal message to my daughter on Earth. I must have transposed the routing codes. I did not mean to intrude on your... She could not finish. What did you call the private communication channel of an alien warlord? Your time? Your attention? Your mercy? Kazreth leaned forward, and Maya saw something flicker across his alien features. Something she could not name. Tell me about this daughter. The question hit Maya like a physical blow. What? Your message spoke of a child. Emily. Tell me about her. Maya's mind was blank with terror. This was some kind of game. Some cruel Th'karr custom before they executed her. But what choice did she have except to answer? She is 14 years old. She is on Earth. She is staying with family while I work this contract. She is smart. So smart. She wants to be a doctor someday. She is everything to me. And you left her. Kazreth's eyes did not blink. All four of them fixed on Maya with an intensity that made her want to crawl out of her own skin. You left this child, this everything to you, to work on a communication station in empty space. Maya felt anger flare beneath the fear. She had no right to be angry at the being who could destroy her with a thought, but she was anyway. I left her so she could have a future, so she would not grow up hungry and scared and wondering if we would have a home tomorrow. I left her because I love her, because sometimes love means sacrifice, because I am her mother and it is my job to give her the life she deserves, even if it costs me everything. The words hung in the air between them. Maya waited for Kazreth to laugh, to mock, to destroy her for her presumption. Instead, the Overlord was silent. He stared at her for a long moment, his mandibles still. Behind him, the bridge had gone completely quiet. Every Th'karr on that ship was watching this exchange now. When Kazreth finally spoke, his voice was different, softer, if such a word could apply to the clicking speech of the Th'karr. I have conquered 400 worlds, human. I have commanded fleets that blotted out suns. I have held the fate of billions in my claws. I have never known what you describe. This love, this sacrifice, this willingness to endure pain for another's benefit. Maya did not know what to say to that. The most powerful being in the galaxy had just admitted to never experiencing love, and she was supposed to what? Offer condolences? Explain human emotion? She settled for the only truth she had. Then, I am sorry for you. The Th'karr bridge erupted in agitated clicking. Maya could see the alien officers reacting with what looked like shock or anger, or both. Kazreth raised one clawed hand, and the noise ceased immediately. You are sorry for me, he repeated. The translator still gave his words no emotional inflection, but Maya thought she heard something in the underlying clicks. Something like wonder. Do you understand what I could do to you, human? Do you comprehend how easily I could erase you from existence? Yes. Maya met those four alien eyes as steadily as she could. I understand, but it does not change the truth. A life without love is not much of a life at all. Even if you conquer the whole galaxy, you will still be alone. Silence. The kind of silence that felt like the moment before a star goes supernova. Then Kazreth did something that Maya would remember for the rest of her life. He laughed. It was not a human laugh, nothing close. But the sound that emerged from his translator was unmistakably amusement, dark, bitter, but real. What is your name, human? Maya Chen, communications technician, 2nd class, station Helios 7, Maya Chen. Kazreth spoke her name slowly, carefully, as if tasting it. You have done something today that no being in this galaxy has done in 200 years. You have surprised me, confused me, made me question things I believed were absolute truths, and you did it entirely by accident while trying to send a message to your daughter. I really am sorry about the intrusion, Maya said. If you want to destroy the station, I understand. But could you please make sure my message gets to Emily? I know it is a lot to ask, but I need her to know that I love her, that I did not just disappear. Please. Kazreth stared at her for another eternal moment. Then he leaned back in his command chair, his clawed hands gripping the armrests. I am not going to destroy your station, Maya Chen. I am going to do something far more complicated. I am going to learn about this thing you call love, and you are going to teach me. Before Maya could respond, the screen went dark. The transmission ended. Outside the viewport, the vast armada of Th'karr warships hung in space like a cage of stars, blocking out the sky, waiting for whatever came next. Maya sat in her chair, staring at the blank screen, trying to process what had just happened. The most feared being in the galaxy had just told her she was going to teach him about love. She had accidentally sent a message meant for her daughter to an alien overlord, and instead of being vaporized, she had somehow become his… what? His teacher? His prisoner? His pet project? The console beeped. Another incoming transmission, this time from one of the smaller ships in the fleet. Maya accepted it on autopilot, too numb to be afraid anymore. A Th'karr officer appeared on screen, smaller than Kazreth, but no less intimidating. The translator rendered his clicks as crisp and efficient. You will remain on station and await further instructions. The Sovereign has declared this sector under his personal jurisdiction. Do not attempt to contact anyone. Do not leave your post. Do not do anything except wait. Understood? Understood, Maya heard herself say. The transmission ended. Maya was alone again in her small metal box, but now the stars outside were blocked by hundreds of alien warships, and somewhere on one of those massive vessels, an alien warlord was thinking about her message to her daughter. Maya put her head in her hands and tried very hard not to laugh hysterically. She had wanted her message to make an impact. She had wanted Emily to know she was loved. She just had not expected it to bring an alien armada to her doorstep. The universe, it seemed, had a terrible sense of humor. Outside, the Th'karr fleet settled into formation, metal titans hanging in the void, waiting. And inside her tiny station, Maya Chen, single mother and communications technician, waited too, wondering what came next when you accidentally made the galaxy's most dangerous predator curious about the human heart. Maya did not sleep that night. How could she? Outside her viewport, the Th'karr fleet maintained its position like a cage of steel and fire, dozens of capital ships arranged in a pattern that looked almost ceremonial. She had tried to research what it meant, pulling up every file she had on Th'karr military formations, but nothing matched. This was not an invasion posture, not a blockade. It was something else entirely. By the time her chronometer marked 6 hours since Kazreth's transmission, Maya had consumed 4 cups of terrible coffee and worn a path in the station's small floor space with her pacing. The communication array had been silent. No further messages, no instructions, just the oppressive presence of alien warships and the weight of not knowing. She was reviewing the communication logs for the 100th time, still trying to understand how she had managed to route a personal message to the most dangerous being in the galaxy when the proximity alarm chimed. Not the screaming panic of before, but a soft notification. Incoming shuttlecraft, single vessel, requesting docking clearance. Maya's hands shook as she pulled up the visual feed. The shuttle was sleek and predatory, all angles and dark metal, bearing the same energy signature as the Th'karr fleet. They were coming aboard. Of course they were coming aboard. Kazreth had said he wanted to learn about love, and apparently that meant sending a boarding party to her tiny station. She granted clearance because refusing would be pointless and suicidal. The shuttle maneuvered with grace that made human spacecraft look clumsy by comparison, attaching to the station's single docking port with a soft clang that Maya felt through the floor. For a moment, nothing happened. Maya stood in the center of her small living space, which was also her workspace, which was also the only space on the entire station, and tried to calm her breathing. She was still wearing the same rumpled jumpsuit she had been in for 2 days. Her hair was a mess. She probably smelled like fear and recycled air. She was about to meet emissaries from an alien empire while looking like she had just crawled out of a sleeping pod. The inner airlock door hissed open. Maya had expected soldiers, warriors, the kind of Th'karr shock troops that featured in every nightmare story about the hegemony's conquests. What stepped through the airlock instead was a single Th'karr, smaller than Kazreth, but still towering over Maya's 5'4" frame. This one wore robes instead of armor, deep purple fabric that seemed to shimmer in the station's harsh lighting. The Th'karr's exoskeleton was a lighter shade than Kazreth's, more bronze than black, and their 4 eyes held something that might have been intelligence or calculation or both. The translator kicked in as the Th'karr clicked softly. "I am Scholar Vethik of the Fourth Circle. I have been sent by the Sovereign to begin the cultural exchange he has mandated." Cultural exchange. Maya almost laughed. "Is that what we are calling this?" Vethik's mandibles twitched in what might have been amusement. "The Sovereign has many names for what he wishes to accomplish. Cultural exchange is the one least likely to cause panic among your species' governing bodies. May I enter? You are already inside my station." Maya gestured at the cramped space around them. "This is it. This is everything. Communications console, sleeping pod, food processor, waste recycling unit. Welcome to my empire." The scholar moved deeper into the station with surprising grace for a being that size, their robes swishing softly. 4 eyes scanned every surface, every detail, with an intensity that made Maya feel like a specimen under a microscope. "This is where you have lived for 3 standard cycles?" 3 months, yes. Maya moved to the small table that served as her desk, her eating surface, and occasionally her pillow when she fell asleep while working. "It is not glamorous, but it pays well. You left your offspring to exist in this isolation." Vethik's tone was neutral, but Maya heard the judgment anyway. "I left my daughter so she could have a future that does not include living in places like this." Maya felt the anger rising again, the same protective fury that had flared when Kazreth questioned her choices. "I know that might be difficult for your species to understand. I know the Th'karr do not have family structures like humans do, but this is what human parents do. We sacrifice, we endure. We do whatever it takes to give our children better lives than we had." Vethik was silent for a moment, those 4 eyes fixed on Maya with unnerving focus. "This is what the Sovereign wishes to understand. The Th'karr are bred in collective hatcheries. We are raised by the state. We are assigned roles based on genetic optimization and aptitude testing. The concept of a parent willingly separating from offspring for the offspring's benefit is alien to us." Maya sat down heavily in her chair. "Then I do not know how to explain it to you. It is not logical. It is not efficient. It hurts every single day. But I would do it again because Emily is worth it. Because seeing her succeed, seeing her happy, seeing her become the person she is meant to be, that is worth any amount of pain on my part. Even when the offspring resents the sacrifice." Vethik tilted their head in a distinctly bird-like gesture. "Your message indicated that your daughter is angry with you." The words hit harder than Maya expected. "Yes, she is angry. She thinks I abandoned her. Maybe she is right to think that. I do not know anymore. All I know is that I am trying my best and it is still not enough." "Sufficient," Vethik said quietly. "Not enough. This is another concept that fascinates the Sovereign. The human capacity for self-doubt, for questioning one's own choices even when made with good intent. The Th'karr do not experience this. Once a decision is made, it is executed without emotional complication." "That sounds lonely," Maya said before she could stop herself. "It is efficient." Vethik moved to the viewport, looking out at the fleet hanging in space. "The Sovereign has built the greatest empire in galactic history using efficiency and logic. He has conquered worlds, united species, eliminated chaos wherever he found it. He has never questioned his choices. He has never experienced doubt or regret or the paralysis of wondering if he is doing the right thing. Until yesterday, he would have told you this made him strong. And now?" Maya asked. "Now he has read a message from a human mother to her daughter, and he is experiencing something we have no word for in our language. The translator is calling it curiosity, but that is inadequate. He is unsettled. For the first time in his existence, the Sovereign is questioning whether strength and efficiency are truly the measures of a meaningful life." Maya did not know what to say to that. The idea that her desperate late-night message to Emily had somehow shaken the philosophical foundations of an alien warlord was too absurd to process. Vethik turned from the viewport. "That is why I am here. To observe you. To learn how humans form these emotional bonds that seem to drive so much of your behavior. To report back to the Sovereign so he can understand what he has never experienced. You are, whether you intended it or not, a teacher now. An ambassador for the concept of love. I am a communications technician who made a mistake with a routing code." Maya heard the exhaustion in her own voice. I do not know anything about being an ambassador. You know how to love your daughter despite distance and hardship. You know how to make sacrifices that logic would reject. You know how to maintain hope in isolation. Vethic's mandibles clicked softly. These are the things the sovereign wishes to learn, not from textbooks or cultural databases, but from lived experience. You are the most qualified teacher in the galaxy, Maya Chen, because you are authentic. Your message was not calculated or diplomatic. It was raw and honest. That is what captured his attention. The communication console beeped. Maya's heart jumped, but it was just a routine system check. Still, the sound reminded her of reality. I am going to be in so much trouble when Galactic Transit Authority finds out about this. They are going to think I initiated unauthorized contact with the hegemony. They are going to fire me, maybe arrest me. The Sovereign has already contacted your governing authorities. Vethic said it so casually, as if it was a minor detail. He has informed them that you are under his personal protection, and that this station is now considered sovereign Th'karr territory for the duration of his cultural study. Any attempt to remove you or interfere with his research will be considered an act of war. Maya's brain stuttered. He declared war on humanity to keep me on this station. He declared that he would consider it an act of war. The distinction is important. The Sovereign is many things, but he does not make threats lightly. Your species leaders understood this. They have agreed to maintain distance and allow this exchange to proceed without interference. So I am a prisoner. Maya said it flatly, without emotion, because feeling it would break her. You are a participant in a historic event. Vethic moved closer, their robes whispering. The Sovereign of the Th'karr Hegemony has never expressed interest in understanding another species' emotional framework. He has conquered, yes. Studied for tactical advantage, yes. But never simply sought to understand for the sake of understanding. Your accidental message has created a unique opportunity for both our species. Maya laughed, harsh and bitter. An opportunity? Is that what you call being trapped on a space station with an alien armada blocking the sky while a warlord decides he wants to learn about feelings? What happens when he gets bored? What happens when he decides human emotions are irrelevant or weak or not worth his time? Does he just leave? Or does he decide the experiment failed and eliminates the evidence? Vethic was quiet for a long moment. I do not know, they said finally, and the honesty was somehow more frightening than any threat. The Sovereign is in uncharted territory. We all are. But I can tell you this. In the 2 centuries I have served him, I have never seen him moved by anything. Not by art, not by beauty, not by the pleas of those he conquered. He is logic and efficiency incarnate. Until he read your message. Something in your words reached him, Maya Chen. Something made him stop and think and feel things he has no framework to process. That is worth something. Worth what? Worth my freedom? Worth never seeing my daughter again? Maya stood up, pacing the small space because sitting still was impossible. I sent Emily a message telling her I loved her, and I would be home soon. Now I am a prisoner in a diplomatic incident that could start a war, and she is going to think I lied to her. Again. She is going to think her mother chose something else over being with her. Again. Then send her another message. Vethic said it simply, as if it was obvious. Tell her the truth. The truth? Maya spun to face the scholar. What truth? That I accidentally sent a love letter to an alien overlord, and now I am his pet project in understanding human emotion? That I am trapped on a space station surrounded by warships because I could not double-check a routing code? What 14-year-old is going to believe that? What 14-year-old is going to forgive that? The one who knows her mother loves her enough to endure anything for her sake. Vethic's 4 eyes held steady on Maya. The one who will someday understand that the universe is chaos and chance, and sometimes mistakes lead to impossible situations. The one who, if your message was accurate, is brave and strong and intelligent enough to eventually see that her mother did not choose to leave her. That circumstances, however bizarre, intervened. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to rage at the unfairness of it all. But Vethic was right. She had to tell Emily something, had to try to explain the inexplicable. She moved to the communications console and opened a new message window. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. What did you even say in a situation like this? Vethic seemed to sense her hesitation. Tell her you love her. Tell her you are safe. Tell her you will come home as soon as you are able. Those are the truths that matter. The circumstances are merely details. Maya began to type, slowly at first, then faster as the words found their shape. Dear Emily, you are probably going to hear some very strange news soon. The kind of news that sounds like bad science fiction. I need you to know that I am okay. I am safe. Something unexpected has happened, but I am not in danger. I cannot explain everything right now, but I will as soon as I can. What I need you to believe, what I need you to hold on to, is that I love you. Nothing that is happening changes that. Nothing could ever change that. You are my daughter and my heart and the reason I get up every morning. I am coming home to you. It might take longer than I planned, and it might happen in ways I cannot predict, but I am coming home. Be brave, sweetheart. Be strong. And know that your mom is thinking about you every second of every day. I love you more than words. I love you more than stars. I love you always, Mom. She read it over twice, then hit send before she could second-guess herself. The message flashed away into the void, heading for Earth and the daughter who probably thought her mother had lost her mind. Th'karr had been watching silently. That was well done. Will it be enough? Maya asked. I do not know. The scholar moved toward the airlock. But it is honest, and honesty is a form of love, is it not? Maya did not have an answer to that. Th'karr paused at the airlock door. The Sovereign will wish to speak with you again soon. When he does, I suggest you continue as you have. Be honest. Be yourself. Do not try to be diplomatic or careful. That is not what he seeks. He has enough careful diplomats. He needs to see authentic human emotion, even when it is messy or illogical or painful, especially then. And if my authentic human emotion is terror? Maya asked. Then show him terror. Th'karr's mandibles clicked softly. But I do not think you are primarily afraid, Maya Chen. I think you are primarily a mother who wants to get back to her daughter. That is the truth the Sovereign needs to see. The scholar left, the airlock hissing shut behind them. Maya heard the shuttle detach, felt the soft vibration through the floor as it returned to the fleet. She was alone again, but somehow it felt different now. Before, the isolation had been a choice, a hardship she endured for a purpose. Now it was something else. Not quite imprisonment, not quite freedom. A strange liminal space where an accidental message had made her the most important human in the galaxy for reasons she still did not fully understand. She looked out the viewport at the Th'karr fleet. Somewhere on one of those ships, Kazreth was reading her messages, analyzing her emotions, trying to understand the concept of love through the lens of a mother's words to her daughter. It should have been absurd. It should have been terrifying. Instead, Maya found herself thinking about what Th'karr had said. The Sovereign had never been moved by anything until he read her message. For 200 years, he had been logic without emotion, efficiency without doubt, power without connection. And then a tired single mother had accidentally sent him a love letter meant for her teenage daughter, and something had cracked in that perfect logical armor. Maya sat at her console and pulled up the files she had on Th'karr history. If she was going to be a teacher, accidentally or otherwise, she needed to understand her student. She needed to know what kind of being could conquer half a galaxy without ever learning to love. The files painted a picture that was both fascinating and horrifying. The Th'karr Hegemony was 3,000 years old, built on principles of genetic optimization and ruthless efficiency. Th'karr were not born, they were engineered. Not raised in families, but in collective hatcheries where every aspect of development was monitored and controlled. Emotions were considered chemical inefficiencies to be minimized. Attachments were weaknesses to be eliminated. The species had achieved unparalleled technological advancement and military dominance by treating themselves as machines to be perfected rather than beings to be nurtured. Kazreth himself was the product of the most advanced genetic engineering the hegemony had ever attempted. He had been designed from his first cell to be the perfect sovereign, stronger, smarter, more logical, more ruthless than any Th'karr who had come before. He had taken command of the hegemony at an age that translated to roughly 25 in human years, and he had spent the next 2 centuries expanding their territory and crushing any species that opposed them. He had never failed at anything, never questioned his purpose, never experienced loss or love or any of the messy emotions that made humans so gloriously irrational. Until yesterday, when a message meant for Emily Chen had accidentally landed in his personal communication array, and he had read words that should have meant nothing to him. Words about sacrifice and love, and the willingness to endure pain for another's happiness. Maya closed the files and stared at the stars beyond the Th'karr ships. She was a 42-year-old communications technician with a daughter she was desperately trying to give a better life. She had no training in diplomacy or cultural exchange or teaching alien warlords about the nature of love. She was just a woman who had made a mistake with a routing code and accidentally started something she could not begin to predict the outcome of. But Th'karr was right about one thing. She knew how to love Emily despite the distance and the hardship. She knew how to maintain hope even when everything felt impossible. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to teach someone who had never known those things what they meant. The console beeped. Another message, this time on the diplomatic channel that had started this whole disaster. Maya's hand shook as she opened it. Text only, no video. But she recognized the source signature. Kazreth himself had sent this. The message was short, almost brutally so. Your daughter. Tell me more about her. Tell me why you love her. Make me understand what I have never felt. Maya stared at the words for a long time. This was insane. This was impossible. This was a genocidal alien warlord, asking a human mother to explain love like it was a concept that could be taught through descriptions and anecdotes. But what choice did she have? And more importantly, what did she have to lose by trying? She began to type, and this time the words came easier because she was writing about the one thing in the universe she understood completely. Her daughter, her Emily, her reason for everything. Outside, the Th'karr fleet maintained its vigil, metal titans surrounding a tiny human woman who was about to try to teach an alien overlord how to feel. Maya spent 3 hours composing her response to Kazreth's question. 3 hours trying to explain to an alien being who had been engineered for conquest why she loved her daughter. She wrote and deleted and rewrote until the words felt as close to true as she could make them. Emily is not perfect. That is the first thing you need to understand. She leaves her clothes on the floor and forgets to do her homework, and sometimes says things that hurt without meaning to. She is 14, which is an age where humans are caught between being children and being adults, and it makes them angry and confused and beautiful and terrible all at once. I do not love her because she is perfect. I love her because she is mine. Because I carried her inside my body for 9 months. Because I held her when she was minutes old and looked into her eyes and knew that I would burn down the universe to keep her safe. Because I watched her learn to walk and talk and read and think. Because every milestone, every achievement, every failure, every tear, every laugh, I was there. I am woven into her existence and she is woven into mine in ways that transcend logic or reason. You ask me to make you understand love. Here is what I can tell you. Love is not efficient. It is not logical. It makes you vulnerable in ways that are terrifying. It means caring more about someone else's happiness than your own survival. It means your heart exists outside your body, walking around in the world where you cannot protect it. Emily could break my heart with a single word. She could reject me completely and it would destroy me. And I would still love her. That is what makes it love. It persists even when it causes pain. It endures even when it is not returned. It simply is, whether you want it or not, whether it makes sense or not. I cannot teach you to feel this. I can only tell you what it feels like to live with it every day. It feels like drowning and flying at the same time. It feels like the best and worst thing that ever happened to you. It feels like being more alive than you ever knew possible, even when it hurts so much you wish you could stop feeling anything at all. That is love. That is what you ask me to explain. I do not know if these words mean anything to you. I do not know if a being who was designed not to feel can understand what I am describing, but I am trying, because you asked. And because maybe if you can understand why I love Emily, you can understand why I made the choices I made. Why I am here instead of with her. Why I endure this isolation and loneliness. Because love demands sacrifice, and I would sacrifice anything for her. Maya hit send before she could convince herself it was inadequate. The message flashed away into the digital void, transmitted directly to Kazreth's personal array. She sat back and waited, her heart pounding, wondering what an alien warlord would make of her attempt to explain the inexplicable. The response came faster than she expected. Minutes, not hours. The screen lit up with Kazreth's reply, and Maya felt her breath catch as she read his words. I have read your message 7 times. Each time I experience something I have no framework for understanding. When you describe vulnerability as essential to love, my training tells me this is weakness. When you describe sacrifice as necessary, my conditioning tells me this is inefficiency. But something beneath that training, beneath that conditioning, responds to your words in ways I cannot classify. You say your heart exists outside your body in the form of your offspring. The Th'karr have no equivalent concept. Our bodies are our own. Our minds are our own. We do not give pieces of ourselves to others. We do not make ourselves vulnerable for the sake of connection. Yet I find myself wondering what it would be like to care about another being's happiness more than one's own continuation, to willingly accept pain because someone else's joy is worth it. This is alien to me in ways that transcend species difference. This is a fundamental reordering of priority that my entire existence has been designed to prevent, and yet I am drawn to it. fascinated by it. I want to understand not just intellectually but experientially what you are describing. Is this possible? Can a being like me, engineered to be logical and efficient and emotionally barren, learn to feel what you feel? Or am I asking you to teach color to someone born blind? Maya read his message twice, trying to process the implications. Kazreth, the sovereign of the Th'karr Hegemony, the being who had conquered half the galaxy through ruthless efficiency, was asking her if he was capable of learning to love. It should have been absurd. It should have been just another manipulation by a being who had built an empire on strategic thinking. But Maya heard something in his words that sounded almost like longing, like a person who had just realized they were missing something essential, but had no idea how to find it. She began typing her response, letting instinct guide her rather than overthought. I do not know if you can learn to feel what I feel. I am not a scientist or a psychologist. I am just a mother who loves her daughter. But I can tell you this. Love is not something you learn like a skill or a language. It is something you experience. It grows from connection, from vulnerability, from letting someone matter to you, even though it is terrifying. You were designed not to feel these things, but design is not destiny. Humans have proven that over and over. We are shaped by biology and environment and culture, but we can transcend those limitations. We can choose to be different than what we were made to be. Maybe you can too. Maybe the fact that you are asking these questions, that you are willing to even consider the possibility of connection, maybe that is the first step. I cannot promise you will ever feel what I feel for Emily, but I can promise that if you are willing to be vulnerable, to let someone matter to you despite the risk, something will change. Whether you want to call that love or something else, I do not know, but it will be real, and it will be yours. She sent the message and immediately wondered if she had said too much, given too much hope to a being who might be incapable of the change he was seeking. But the words were gone now, traveling through space to an alien mind trying to understand human hearts. The console beeped again. Another incoming transmission, but this time not from Kazreth. The identifier showed it was from Scholar Vethik. Maya accepted the call. The scholar's bronze exoskeleton gleamed in the harsh light of their laboratory or office or whatever space they were calling from. You are making remarkable progress. Vethik's mandibles clicked in what Maya was learning to recognize as approval. The Sovereign has requested that I provide you with historical context that may help you understand what you are attempting to accomplish. I am not attempting to accomplish anything. Maya heard the exhaustion in her own voice. I am just answering his questions as honestly as I can, which is precisely why you are succeeding where generations of philosophers and cultural experts would have failed. Vethik leaned closer to their recording device. But you should know what you are dealing with. The Sovereign was created by the previous ruling council as their ultimate weapon. They took the genetic material of the 12 most successful Th'karr military leaders in our history and combined it with advanced neural engineering. They suppressed every gene associated with emotional volatility. They enhanced every trait associated with strategic thinking and ruthless decision-making. They grew him in an isolation chamber where he had no contact with other beings for the first 5 cycles of his development. When they finally introduced him to Th'karr society, he was already intellectually superior to adults twice his age. He learned faster, analyzed deeper, and made decisions with a clarity that seemed almost prescient. By age 15, by your species' measurement, he had designed the military strategy that conquered the Velour Confederacy. By 20, he had eliminated the ruling council and taken sole control of the hegemony. By 30, he had expanded our territory by 40%. He is now 217 years old, and in all that time, he has never formed an emotional attachment to anyone or anything. He has advisors but not friends, subordinates but not companions. He exists in a state of perfect isolation, connected to billions of beings through command, but connected to no one through affection or care, or any of the bonds your species takes for granted. Maya felt something twist in her chest. That sounds like hell. Vethik's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. To us, it sounds like perfection. The Th'karr ideal is to transcend the limitations of emotional thinking, to exist in a state of pure logic, where decisions are never clouded by sentiment or attachment. The Sovereign represents the ultimate achievement of that ideal. Until 3 days ago, we would have said he was the greatest success of Th'karr genetic engineering, a being who had eliminated weakness and achieved perfect efficiency. And now? Maya asked. Now he is reading messages from a human mother and asking questions that have no logical purpose. Now he is experiencing curiosity, not for tactical advantage, but for its own sake. Now he is wondering if the thing he was designed to lack might actually be something worth having. Th'karr paused, their mandibles still. You have broken something in him, Maya Chen. Or perhaps you have awakened something that was always there, buried beneath layers of genetic manipulation and social conditioning. I do not know which, but I do know that the sovereign is changing, and change in a being of his power is either tremendously dangerous or tremendously important. Possibly both. What do you want me to do? Maya felt the weight of it pressing down on her. I did not ask for this. I do not want to be responsible for what happens to him or the hegemony or whatever consequences come from this. No one asks to be the catalyst for historical transformation. Th'karr's tone was almost gentle, but you are nonetheless. My advice is the same as before. Be honest. Be yourself. Let him see authentic human emotion and connection. Whether he can truly change, whether he can learn to feel what you feel, that is not something you can control, but you can give him the opportunity to try. That is all anyone can do. The transmission ended. Maya sat alone again, staring at the communication console and the messages she had sent to an alien warlord, trying to understand love. She thought about Kazreth as Th'karr had described him. A being grown in isolation, designed for conquest, engineered to be incapable of the connections that made life meaningful. A creature of terrible power and perfect loneliness who had read her message to Emily and realized for the first time that he was missing something. Maya opened a new message window. She was not sure what she was going to say until the words started flowing. When Emily was 3 years old, she got scared of the dark. Every night she would cry and beg me to leave the lights on. I tried everything. Night lights, music, staying in her room until she fell asleep. Nothing worked. She was terrified and I could not fix it. One night I was so exhausted that I just climbed into her little bed with her and held her while she cried. And while I held her, I told her a story. I told her that the darkness was not empty. That it was full of stars we could not see during the day, but that were always there watching over us. That every person who loved her was a star in her personal sky, shining even when she could not see them. I told her that I was her biggest star, and that even when I was not in the room, my light was still there, keeping her safe. It was silly. It was not scientific or logical, but she stopped crying. She looked up at me with those big eyes and asked if I would always be her star. I said yes. I promised I would always shine for her no matter how dark it got. She slept through the night for the first time in weeks, and from then on, whenever she got scared, she would say she could feel her stars watching over her. That story, that silly made-up thing I told my daughter when I was too tired to think straight, that became our way of talking about love. When I left for this assignment, Emily did not cry at the shuttle port. She just looked at me and said she could feel my star even from space. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand something. Love is not grand or logical or even particularly sensible. It is small moments like holding a scared child and telling her stars are watching. It is silly promises that you keep for the rest of your life. It is being someone's light even when you are 30,000 light years away. You want to learn about love? Start by understanding that it lives in the tiny things, the promises you keep, the comfort you offer, the simple act of being there, or trying to be there, or letting someone know you would be there if you could. That is love. Not some grand philosophical concept, but the accumulation of 1,000 small kindnesses and connections that build something unbreakable. Maya sent the message and felt tears on her cheeks. She had not thought about the star's story in years. It had been something spontaneous, born of exhaustion and desperation, but it had become one of the most important things between her and Emily, their private language for love. She wondered what Kazreth would make of it. Whether a being designed for conquest could understand the power of a story told to a frightened 3-year-old in the dark. The response came an hour later. When it did, Maya's hands shook as she opened it. I am not capable of crying. The Th'karr have no tear ducts, no biological mechanism for expressing grief or overwhelming emotion through physical release. But when I read your story about stars in the darkness, I experienced something in my thoracic region that my medical systems could not classify. A pressure. A sensation that was not pain, but was undeniably discomfort. I accessed our cultural databases looking for explanation. The closest match I found was described as aching, a longing for something one has never had but somehow recognizes as missing. I have conquered worlds, Maya Chen. I have commanded the loyalty of billions. I have achieved everything my creators designed me to achieve, and yet I have never told anyone they were my star in the darkness. I have never been anyone's star. I have never experienced the simplicity of holding someone who is frightened and offering them comfort through words and presence. I am beginning to understand what you meant when you said love is not logical. Logic would dictate that I should feel satisfied with my accomplishments. Logic would say that emotional connection is unnecessary for a being of my capabilities. But something illogical in me reads your stories and feels that aching sensation and recognizes it as hunger. I am hungry for something I was designed not to need. Does that make sense to you? Can you understand what I am experiencing? Maya read his message 3 times, each time feeling the weight of what he was describing. Kazreth, the most powerful being in the galaxy, was experiencing loneliness for the first time in his 200-year existence. He was recognizing the emptiness at the center of his perfect, efficient life. It made perfect sense to her because she had felt it too. In the months on this station, in the years before when she was working 3 jobs to keep Emily fed and housed, in the moments when she wondered if her sacrifices would ever be enough, loneliness was universal. Even alien warlords could feel it once they understood what they were missing. She began typing, knowing this was important, knowing she had to get this right. Yes, I understand exactly what you are experiencing. That hunger, that aching, that sense of something missing. That is the beginning of understanding love, because love starts with recognizing that you are not complete alone. That connection matters, that other people, other beings, other hearts have value that goes beyond their utility or function. You were designed to be self-sufficient, to need nothing and no one, but design is a limitation, not a destiny. The fact that you can feel that hunger means you are already more than what you were made to be. So yes, Kazreth, it makes sense to me. You are lonely. You are recognizing that 2 centuries of perfect efficiency have left you isolated in ways that hurt, and now you are wondering if there is another way to exist. If you can have both the power you have achieved and the connection you have never known. I do not have the answer to that. I do not know if you can change or how much or what it would cost you, but I know this. The fact that you are asking the question means you are already different than you were 3 days ago. The fact that you can feel that ache means you are not as emotionally barren as you thought. Something in you responds to stories about stars and scared children. Something in you recognizes loneliness and names it. That something is what makes change possible. Maya sent the message and then sat very still, listening to the hum of the station's life support systems, feeling the enormity of what was happening. She was having a conversation about the nature of love and loneliness with an alien warlord who commanded hundreds of warships and governed billions of beings. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was also the most important thing she had ever done, and she knew it in her bones. The communication console lit up with another incoming call. This time it was a video transmission, and when Maya accepted it, she found herself face to face with Kazreth again. All 4 of his eyes fixed on her with an intensity that should have been terrifying, but somehow was not. I wish to ask you something. His clicking speech came through the translator with that same flat, emotionless tone, but Maya was learning to hear the nuance beneath it. Something he was not saying, but feeling. If you could speak to your daughter right now, what would you tell her? Maya did not hesitate. I would tell her I love her, that I am thinking about her, that I am sorry for the pain I have caused, but I would make the same choices again because they were made out of love. I would tell her to be brave and strong, and to remember her stars are always watching. I would tell her that distance does not diminish what we have, that I am still her mother, still her biggest star, still here even when she cannot see me. Kazreth was silent for a long moment. And she would believe you? I do not know. Maya felt the honesty of it in her chest. I hope so. But Emily is 14 and hurt and angry, and sometimes belief is not enough. Sometimes you can love someone with everything you have, and they still feel abandoned. That is the risk of connection. You can do everything right and still lose the person you love. You can sacrifice everything, and they might never understand why. That is what makes it terrifying, but it is also what makes it real. The alien warlord stared at her through the screen, his 4 eyes unblinking. I am going to do something unprecedented. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sound the translator rendered as determination. I am going to bring your daughter here. Maya's world stopped. What? Your daughter, Emily. I am sending a ship to Earth to retrieve her. She will be brought here to this station so you can be reunited, so I can observe what it looks like when a mother and child who love each other are together after separation. So I can learn not from your words but from your actions what this connection truly means. No. The word came out as barely a whisper. No, you cannot do that. You cannot just take a child from Earth. That is kidnapping. That is an act of war. That is, that is what you want most in the universe. Kazreth leaned forward. Is it not? To see your daughter? To hold her? To stop communicating through delayed messages and be in the same space, breathing the same air, existing together? I have the power to give you that. I have the power to end your separation. Why would you refuse? Because Emily is a person, not a specimen to be studied. Because taking her without her consent, without proper authorization, without considering what she wants or needs, that is not love. That is control. Maya felt anger cutting through her shock. You want to understand love? Then understand this. Love respects autonomy. Love considers the other person's well-being and choices. Love does not demand or take or force, even when it is desperate to be close. Taking Emily from Earth to satisfy your curiosity or my loneliness, that would be the opposite of love. That would be using her as an object in your experiment. Kazreth's mandibles went completely still. But you want to see her. Your messages are full of that longing. Yes, I want to see her more than anything. But not like this. Not in a way that violates her agency or her safety or her right to live her life. Maya felt tears on her face again. This is what sacrifice means, Kazreth. This is what love demands. I want to hold my daughter so badly it physically hurts. But I will not allow her to be brought here against her will or without proper consideration for her needs. I will wait. I will endure the separation. I will keep sending messages and hoping she understands. Because that is what you do when you love someone. You put their well-being ahead of your own desperate need for connection. The alien warlord stared at her for what felt like an eternity. Then, slowly, his mandibles began to move again. This is the most illogical thing I have ever witnessed. You could have what you want most. I am offering it to you, and you are refusing because the method of obtaining it violates your principles about respecting another being's autonomy. Yes, Maya said simply, even though it causes you pain to refuse. Yes, even though I have the power to do it anyway, regardless of your wishes. Maya met those 4 alien eyes steadily. Yes, even then, because some things are more important than what I want. Emily's right to choose is more important. Her safety and well-being are more important. My principles about how people should be treated are more important. This is what love looks like, Kazreth. Not getting what you want, but protecting what matters most, even when it hurts. The sovereign of the Th'karr Hegemony leaned back in his command chair, his clawed hands gripping the armrests. You have just taught me something I did not expect to learn. Power is not the same as right. The ability to do something does not create the justification for doing it. I could bring your daughter here. I have the ships, the authority, the reach to make it happen. But doing so would violate the principles you claim to value. And if I did it, you would hate me for it. Even if it gave you what you desperately want, you would hate me because the method would invalidate the outcome. Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. This is very complicated. Kazreth's tone held something that might have been frustration or wonder or both. Emotions are not efficient. They create contradictions and paradoxes. You want something but refuse it because of how it would be obtained. You would suffer rather than compromise your principles. This is the opposite of logical optimization. Yes, Maya said quietly. Welcome to being human, or at least to understanding humans. We are messy and contradictory, and we make decisions that look insane from the outside. But those decisions are meaningful to us because they reflect what we value. And sometimes what we value is more important than what we want. Kazreth was silent for a long time, his 4 eyes never leaving Maya's face. Then he spoke, and his words changed everything. I will not bring your daughter here by force, but I will ensure that when your contract ends, you can return to Earth immediately. I will compensate you for the remainder of your term and provide transport that will get you home in days instead of months. This is what I can offer without violating your principles. Is this acceptable? Maya felt her breath catch. You would do that? You would let me go home early? On one condition. Kazreth leaned forward again. You continue these conversations with me until you leave. You continue teaching me about love and connection and the irrational, beautiful things humans value. You continue being honest, even when honesty means telling me I am wrong. You continue showing me what it means to care about someone more than yourself. If you do this, I will ensure you are reunited with your daughter as quickly as technology allows. It was a bargain with the devil. Or would have been if the devil was a lonely alien warlord who had just learned what loneliness meant. Maya knew she should be cautious, should consider the implications, should wonder what game Kazreth was playing, but all she could think about was Emily. About going home months early, about holding her daughter and trying to repair what the distance had damaged. Yes, Maya heard herself say. Yes, I will do it. I will keep talking to you, keep answering your questions, keep trying to help you understand, and you will get me home to my daughter as soon as possible. Kazreth's mandibles clicked in what might have been satisfaction or triumph or something else entirely. Then we have an agreement. Continue your lessons, Maya Chen. Teach me to understand what I have never felt, and when you have taught me enough, I will give you what you want most. Your daughter, your home, your chance to be together again. The transmission ended, leaving Maya staring at a blank screen and wondering what she had just agreed to. She had made a deal with the sovereign of the Th'karr Hegemony. She had become the teacher of an alien warlord's heart. She had traded her time and honesty for a chance to go home early to Emily. And somewhere in the back of her mind, beneath the excitement and fear and desperate hope, Maya wondered if she had just changed the course of galactic history by accident. Again. The next week passed in a strange rhythm that Maya would not have believed possible before this all started. Every day, Kazreth would send her questions. Simple ones at first. What does it feel like when your daughter laughs? How do you know when she needs you, even if she does not say it? What is the difference between protecting someone and controlling them? Maya answered every question as honestly as she could, often finding herself telling stories she had not thought about in years. The time Emily fell off her bike and scraped her knee and refused to cry until Maya held her. The way Emily would get quiet when she was worried about something, retreating into herself until Maya learned to recognize the signs and gently coax her into talking. The countless small moments that built a relationship between mother and daughter, brick by invisible brick. Kazreth absorbed every story, every explanation, every glimpse into the daily reality of human connection. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, something began to change in their conversations. His questions became more personal, more vulnerable. On the fourth day, he asked her what regret felt like. Maya told him about the time she missed Emily's school play because she had to work a double shift, and how Emily had said it was fine, but her eyes had been wet, and how Maya still thought about that moment 5 years later and wished she could change it. On the sixth day, he asked her if she was afraid of dying. Maya told him yes, but not for herself. She was afraid of leaving Emily alone in the world before she was ready, afraid of not being there for the moments that mattered, afraid that her daughter would forget her voice or her face or the way she used to sing terrible off-key lullabies when Emily was small. On the eighth day, Kazreth told her something that made Maya realize just how much had changed between them. I spoke with my military council today. His face filled her screen, those 4 eyes looking somehow less alien than they had a week ago. They presented me with invasion plans for 3 systems in the Outer Rim, standard expansion protocol. I have approved such plans hundreds of times, but today I asked them a question I have never asked before. I asked them how many offspring would be orphaned by our conquest, how many parents would be separated from their children, how many families would be destroyed in service of the hegemony's expansion. Maya felt her breath catch. What did they say? They looked at me as if I had spoken in an unknown language. Th'karr informed me later that the entire council is concerned I am experiencing some kind of cognitive malfunction. One of them suggested I undergo neural recalibration to eliminate whatever emotional contamination is affecting my judgment. Kazreth's mandibles clicked slowly. They do not understand why I would suddenly care about the emotional impact of conquest on subjugated populations. Why the sovereign who has ordered the deaths of millions without hesitation is now asking about orphaned children. Maya chose her words carefully. Why are you asking about them? Because of your stories. Because I keep thinking about Emily at the shuttle port, trying not to cry while her mother left. Because I keep imagining what it would be like if you never came back. If she waited and you were simply gone one day, erased by forces beyond her control. Kazreth leaned closer to his screen. I have created that scenario thousands of times. Tens of thousands. I have been the force that erases parents and leaves children alone. I never thought about it before. They were simply casualties, acceptable losses in pursuit of a larger goal. But now I cannot stop thinking about it. About all the Emily Chens across the galaxy whose mothers did not choose to leave but were taken. Whose last moments with their parents were not tearful goodbyes at shuttle ports, but explosions and chaos and terror. What did you do? Maya asked quietly. About the invasion plans? I told them to revise the strategy, to minimize civilian casualties, to create protocols for evacuating families before military action, to... Kazreth paused, his mandibles stilling. To consider the emotional impact of our actions on the populations we conquer. They think I have lost my mind. Perhaps I have. Perhaps letting a human mother teach me about love has broken something essential in my ability to rule effectively. Or perhaps it has made you a better ruler. Maya felt the words come from somewhere deep and true. Perhaps caring about the people you govern, even the ones you conquer. Perhaps that makes you stronger, not weaker. Perhaps an empire built on more than fear and efficiency could be something greater than what you have already achieved. That is not how the Th'karr think. Kazreth's 4 eyes held steady on hers. We value strength and logic. Compassion is viewed as weakness. Mercy is seen as inefficiency. For 2 centuries, I have embodied these values perfectly. I have been the ideal sovereign, ruthless and brilliant and utterly without sentiment. And in 1 week of conversations with you, I am questioning the foundations of everything I have built. Is that a bad thing? Maya asked. I do not know. The admission seemed to cost him something. I do not know if I can be what you are teaching me to be and still maintain control of the hegemony. I do not know if my people will follow a sovereign who suddenly cares about the emotional well-being of those we conquer. I do not know if this change you are creating in me will make me a better leader or will destroy everything I have worked for. All I know is that I cannot go back to not asking these questions. You have shown me something I can never unsee. Maya felt the weight of responsibility settle heavier on her shoulders. I did not mean to break you. I was just answering your questions honestly. You did not break me. Kazreth's tone shifted, becoming almost fierce. You woke me up. For 200 years I have been asleep, executing my programming like a machine. Conquer, expand, optimize. I have been magnificent and terrible, and completely dead inside. You sent me a message about loving your daughter, and suddenly I am alive in ways that hurt and confuse me and make me question everything. That is not breaking. That is transformation. Before Maya could respond, an alarm sounded on Kazreth's end. She could see movement behind him, hear urgent clicking that the translator did not bother rendering. His attention shifted away from the screen. What is happening? Maya asked. A situation requiring my attention. Kazreth looked back at her, and for the first time, Maya saw something that might have been regret in those alien eyes. We will continue this conversation later. I must attend to my duties. The transmission ended abruptly. Maya sat alone in her station, staring at the blank screen and thinking about what Kazreth had said. She was transforming him, changing the way he saw the universe and his place in it, and she had no idea if that transformation would save lives or cost them. If making an alien warlord capable of caring would lead to mercy or to a different kind of danger. 3 hours later, Scholar Vethik contacted her. The Th'karr's bronze exoskeleton seemed dimmer than usual, their 4 eyes heavy with something that might have been exhaustion. We have a problem. Vethik did not waste time on pleasantries. The sovereign's behavior is being questioned by the High Council. They have noted changes in his decision-making patterns, his unprecedented interest in civilian casualties, his refusal to approve standard military operations without extensive revision, his growing, what they are calling emotional instability. He is learning to care about people. Maya felt anger rising. How is that instability? Because it is unprecedented and unpredictable. Vethik's mandibles clicked rapidly. You must understand, Maya Chen. The Th'karr Hegemony has existed for 3,000 years on principles of logic and efficiency. Emotion is not just discouraged, it is viewed as dangerous, a threat to our social order. We have built an entire civilization on the suppression of sentiment in favor of rational calculation. The sovereign was the perfect embodiment of that ideal. Now he is changing, becoming something we have no framework for understanding. Some members of the High Council are calling for his removal. They want to overthrow him? Maya's voice went sharp with fear. Because I taught him to ask questions about orphaned children, they want to preserve the hegemony's stability. They see the sovereign's transformation as a threat to everything we have built, and they are not entirely wrong. Vethik leaned closer to the screen. A ruler who suddenly develops compassion is unpredictable. He might make decisions that prioritize emotion over strategy. He might show mercy where ruthlessness is required. He might, they fear, become weak. Caring about people is not weakness, Maya said fiercely. To the Th'karr, it is. Vethik's tone was heavy. And if the High Council decides the sovereign has become too compromised by human emotion to rule effectively, they will act. They will remove him from power, forcibly if necessary. They will likely eliminate him to prevent the spread of whatever they view as his contamination. and then they will turn their attention to the source of that contamination. Me. Maya felt cold spreading through her chest. They will kill me. They will certainly eliminate what they see as a threat to the hegemony's stability. Vethik did not soften it. You have done something unprecedented, Maya Chen. You have changed the sovereign of the Th'karr Hegemony in fundamental ways. You have introduced emotional reasoning into a being designed to be purely logical. From their perspective, you are a weapon that has struck at the heart of their civilization. They will not allow you to continue existing. What can I do? Maya heard the desperation in her own voice. I did not want any of this. I just want to go home to my daughter. I know. Vethik's mandibles softened. And I believe you. But intention is irrelevant now. The situation has escalated beyond your control. The only question is what happens next. What do you think will happen? Maya asked. I think the sovereign will not go quietly. I think he will fight for the right to continue his transformation. I think he values what you have taught him more than he values the approval of his council. Vethik paused. I think you have made him willing to risk everything for the chance to become something more than what he was designed to be. Whether that is beautiful or tragic, I cannot yet tell. The transmission ended, leaving Maya alone with her fear and the growing realization that her accidental message had started something that could end in violence and death. She had wanted to teach Kazreth about love. She had not considered that love might make him a target, that caring might cost him his empire and possibly his life. She opened a message to him, her fingers shaking as she typed. Vethik told me about the High Council, told me that your changes are being seen as a threat. I am so sorry. I never wanted to put you in danger. I never wanted to create conflict within your government. If you need to stop our conversations, if you need to distance yourself from me to protect your position, I understand. I will not blame you. Please do not risk everything you have built for the sake of what I have been teaching you. It is not worth your life or your empire. She sent it and waited, her heart pounding. Outside her viewport, the Th'karr fleet maintained its position, metal titans hanging in space. Somewhere on one of those ships, an alien warlord was facing a choice between the being he had been designed to be and the being he was learning to become. The response came faster than she expected. You misunderstand what I have learned from you, Maya Chen. I am not risking everything for the sake of your lessons. I am risking everything because your lessons have shown me that what I have built is not enough. An empire without compassion is just a machine. Power without connection is just loneliness dressed in authority. I have spent 200 years being the perfect sovereign, and I have been miserable every moment without even knowing it. Now I know. Now I understand what I have been missing, and I will not go back to that emptiness, not even to save my position or my life. You asked me once if a being like me could learn to feel what you feel. I have an answer now. Yes, I can feel. And what I feel is rage at a system that calls compassion weakness. What I feel is grief for all the beings I have harmed because I was too blind to see their suffering. What I feel is determination to become something better than what I was designed to be, even if it destroys me in the process. You did not put me in danger. You saved me from a death I was too numb to recognize. If the High Council wants to remove me for that, let them try. I will not return to being their emotionless weapon. Maya read his words 3 times, each time feeling her throat tighten with emotion. Kazreth was willing to fight his own government for the right to continue learning about love. He was willing to risk everything rather than return to the perfect, efficient isolation he had existed in for 2 centuries. She was still trying to formulate a response when every alarm on the station activated simultaneously. Not the soft proximity warnings she was used to, full emergency protocols. Red lights flooded every surface. The communication array was screaming about massive energy signatures and incoming vessels and threat levels that made her blood freeze. Maya threw herself into her chair and pulled up the scanners, her hands moving on pure trained instinct. What she saw made no sense. The Th'karr fleet was moving, reorganizing from their ceremonial formation into combat positions. And emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system were more ships, dozens of them, hundreds. A second Th'karr fleet, this one bearing different energy signatures, different command structures. The High Council had sent their own armada. Maya's console lit up with an incoming transmission on the emergency frequency. She accepted it without thinking, and found herself looking at a Th'karr she had never seen before. Older than Kazreth, their exoskeleton marked with ceremonial scarring, their 4 eyes cold and calculating. Human Maya Chen. The translator rendered their clicks as formal and threatening. You are hereby ordered to cease all communication with the entity currently claiming to be sovereign. You are under the protection of the High Council pending resolution of the current political situation. Any attempt to contact the compromised entity will be considered an act of war against the legitimate government of the Th'karr Hegemony. The transmission ended before Maya could respond. Outside her viewport, the two Th'karr fleets were maneuvering into position, hundreds of warships arranging themselves for battle. And somewhere on one of those vessels, Kazreth was preparing to fight his own people for the right to keep learning about love from a human mother who had accidentally sent him a message meant for her daughter. Maya's hands shook as she tried to process what was happening. Civil war. She had accidentally started a civil war in the Th'karr Hegemony. Her message about loving Emily, her stories about stars in the darkness and scraped knees and sacrifice, they had transformed an alien warlord so profoundly that his own government viewed him as a threat, and now beings were going to die because she had taught him to care. The communication console lit up with another incoming transmission. This time it was Kazreth, and when his face appeared on the screen, Maya saw something she had never seen before in those alien features. Determination, fierce and unbreakable. Do not listen to them. His mandibles clicked rapidly, urgently. The High Council does not speak for me. They do not speak for what I am becoming. They want to preserve a system that has kept us all in emotional prison for millennia. I will not let them. They have sent an armada. Maya heard the fear in her voice. Kazreth, they are going to attack you. They are going to try to kill you because you learned to care about people. Let them try. His 4 eyes blazed with something that looked almost like joy. For the first time in my existence, I am fighting for something that matters, not for conquest or expansion or abstract principles of efficiency, for the right to feel, for the right to choose compassion over ruthlessness, for the right to become more than what I was designed to be. You showed me that was possible, Maya Chen. You showed me that even a being like me, engineered for emotional emptiness, can learn to care. I will not surrender that. Not to the High Council, not to anyone, but people are going to die, Maya whispered. People die every day. Kazreth leaned closer to his screen. They die in my conquests. They die in the name of hegemony expansion. They die because I have spent 2 centuries being exactly what I was designed to be. A weapon, a tool of empire, an emotionless calculator of strategic advantage. If they are going to die today, let it be for something different. Let it be because I chose to fight for the right to transformation. Let it be because I decided that feeling is more important than efficiency. What about me? Maya asked. What happens to me when this is over? If I win, I honor our agreement. I get you home to Emily as quickly as possible. Kazreth's mandibles stilled for a moment. If I lose, the High Council will likely eliminate you to prevent any other Th'karr from being, as they see it, contaminated by human emotion. Either way, your part in this is almost finished. You have already done what I asked. You have taught me enough. Whatever happens next is my choice and my responsibility. The transmission ended. Maya sat alone in her station while outside her viewport, 2 massive fleets prepared for battle. She thought about Emily waiting on Earth, probably angry and confused and wondering why her mother's messages had become so strange. She thought about Kazreth, a being designed never to feel, now willing to die for the right to continue feeling. She thought about all the beings on all those ships about to fight a war over whether compassion was worth preserving. And she did the only thing she could think to do. She opened a message window and began to type, knowing Emily might never see it, knowing this might be her last chance to tell her daughter what mattered most. Emily, I love you. If you never hear from me again, I need you to know that. I love you more than words, more than stars, more than distance or time or fear. I made mistakes. I left when maybe I should have stayed. I prioritized money over presence. I thought I was doing the right thing and maybe I was wrong. But everything I did because you matter more to me than my own life. You are my star in the darkness, sweetheart. You always have been. You always will be. If something happens to me, please remember that. Please remember that your mother loved you with everything she had. Please remember that even when I was far away, even when I made choices that hurt you, I was always thinking of you, always loving you, always hoping I was giving you the future you deserved. Be brave, Emily. Be strong. Be the amazing person I know you can be, and know that wherever I am, whatever happens, my light shines for you, always. Maya sent the message and then sat back, tears streaming down her face, while outside the viewport the first shots of the Civil War began to light up the darkness of space like dying stars. The battle lasted 14 hours. Maya watched it all from her tiny station, unable to look away, unable to do anything except bear witness to the violence her accidental message had unleashed. The space around Helios 7 became a graveyard of metal and fire, ships tearing each other apart with weapons that made human technology look primitive. Kazreth's fleet fought with precision and tactical brilliance. The High Council's forces fought with numbers and righteous certainty. Energy beams carved through the darkness. Explosions bloomed like terrible flowers. Ships died by the dozen, then by the 100, and Maya counted everyone, knowing that each explosion represented hundreds or thousands of Th'karr lives ended because their sovereign had learned to care about orphaned children. The communication array stayed active throughout, channels flooding with tactical chatter and damage reports, and the desperate clicking of beings fighting and dying for opposing visions of what their species should be. Maya did not understand most of it. Her translator struggled with military terminology and the chaos of battle, but she understood enough. Kazreth was losing, not because he was a poor tactician. Even Maya, with her limited military knowledge, could see the brilliance of his maneuvers. He was outnumbered 3-1, and still managing to inflict devastating casualties on the High Council's forces. But numbers mattered. Attrition mattered. For every council ship Kazreth destroyed, 2 more pressed forward to take its place. 8 hours into the battle, Scholar Vethic contacted her. The Th'karr's bronze exoskeleton was scored with burn marks. Behind them, Maya could see smoke and damaged equipment. Vethic's ship had been hit. The Sovereign requests that I tell you something. Vethic's mandibles moved slowly, pain evident in every click. He wants you to know that he does not regret what he learned from you. That even if he dies today, even if this transformation costs him everything, it was worth it. He says you gave him something he never knew he was missing. You gave him a reason to fight for more than conquest and efficiency. You showed him what it means to care about something beyond himself. Maya's vision blurred with tears. Tell him I am sorry. Tell him I never wanted this. He knows. Vethic's 4 eyes held steady on her. And he says, you have nothing to apologize for. You were simply being yourself, being human, being a mother who loves her daughter. It was the hegemony that chose to see that as a threat. It was our people who decided that emotion was weakness rather than strength. You did not cause this war, Maya Chen. You simply revealed fractures that were always there. The transmission cut out as another explosion rocked Vethic's ship. Maya was alone again, watching the battle rage, helpless and horrified, and unable to stop thinking about what Kazreth had said, that it was worth it, that learning to feel was worth dying for. 10 hours into the battle, something changed. Maya saw it on her scanners before she understood what it meant. New signatures, emerging from hyperspace at multiple points around the battle zone. Not Th'karr ships, something else, something smaller and more diverse. Human vessels, dozens of them, followed by ships from a dozen other species. The kind of ragtag fleet that had no business being anywhere near a Th'karr civil war. Maya's console lit up with an incoming transmission on a human frequency. When she accepted it, she found herself looking at a woman in a military uniform she did not recognize. Human, middle-aged, with sharp eyes and a determined set to her jaw. Communications technician Maya Chen. The woman's voice was crisp and professional. I am Captain Reeves of the Coalition Frigate Determination. We have been monitoring the situation here for the past 6 hours. We are aware that you are being held against your will by hostile forces. We are here to extract you and to provide support to Sovereign Kazreth's fleet. Maya's brain stuttered. What? Why? How do you even know what is happening? Your messages to your daughter. Captain Reeves allowed a small smile. They have been intercepted and analyzed by multiple intelligence agencies. The story of a human mother accidentally teaching an alien warlord about love while triggering a civil war in the Th'karr Hegemony has made you somewhat famous in the wider galaxy. When it became clear that the High Council was moving against Kazreth, several species decided they preferred a sovereign who asks about civilian casualties to one who follows the old protocols without question. We are here to ensure that transformation has a chance to survive. You are intervening in a Th'karr civil war because you prefer the version of Kazreth that I accidentally created. Maya heard the hysteria creeping into her voice. We are intervening because the alternative is worse. Captain Reeves's tone became serious. The High Council represents everything we fear about the hegemony. Pure logic, pure efficiency, pure ruthlessness. A sovereign who suddenly starts caring about the beings he conquers, who questions his own methods, who shows mercy and asks about orphaned children. That is someone we can work with. That is someone who might build a different kind of empire. So yes, we are here, and we are not alone. The coalition fleet, Maya realized as more ships emerged from hyperspace, was massive. Not as large as either Th'karr force, but significant enough to shift the balance. Human vessels, velour ships. Species Maya had never heard of, all arriving to support an alien warlord's right to learn about love. The battle shifted. Kazreth's forces, reinforced and reinvigorated, pressed their advantage. The High Council fleet, suddenly facing a multi-species coalition, in addition to their own sovereign's tactical brilliance, began to falter. Ships retreated. Formation broke. What had been a slow, inevitable defeat transformed into something else. Not a victory. Not yet, but a possibility of one. 12 hours into the battle, Maya received a direct transmission from Kazreth. His face filled her screen, and she could see the exhaustion in those 4 eyes, the stress in the set of his mandibles. Behind him, his command deck was chaos. Damaged systems, injured crew, the evidence of a ship that had been fighting desperately for survival. Your species came to my aid. His clicking speech came through the translator heavy with something Maya thought might be wonder. They brought others. They are fighting beside me against my own people because they believe in what you taught me. They believe in the possibility of you. Maya felt tears on her face again. They believe that a sovereign who cares is better than one who does not. You did this, Kazreth. You proved that change is possible, that even a being designed for emotional emptiness can learn to feel and fight for that right. I am terrified. The admission seemed to cost him something. For 200 years, I was certain. I knew what I was. I knew my purpose. I executed it without doubt or hesitation. Now I am uncertain about everything except that I do not want to go back to what I was. I do not want to be the perfect weapon they designed. I want to be something messier and more complicated and more alive, but I am terrified that I will fail, that I will lose this battle and everything I have learned from you will die with me. Then do not lose. Maya heard the fierceness in her own voice. Fight for the right to keep feeling. Fight for the beings under your command who are risking everything to follow this new version of you. Fight for every Emily in the galaxy who deserves a universe where even the powerful can learn compassion. You are not alone in this, Kazreth. You never were. Because of you. His 4 eyes held steady on hers. Everything I am becoming is because of you. No. Maya shook her head. Everything you are becoming is because you chose to listen. Because you chose to question. Because you chose to risk everything rather than stay safely numb. I was just the catalyst. You are the transformation. The transmission cut out as another wave of attacks hit Kazreth's flagship. Maya watched on her scanners as the battle raged on, coalition forces and Kazreth's fleet pressing their advantage, slowly but inexorably pushing the High Council forces back. 14 hours into the battle, it ended. Not with a grand explosion or climactic moment. Simply with the remaining High Council ships initiating emergency hyperspace jumps, retreating from a conflict they could no longer win. The space around Helios 7 went quiet except for the debris field and the damaged ships limping toward safety. Maya sat in silence, staring at her scanners, trying to process what had just happened. A Th'karr civil war, triggered by her accidental message, had just been decided by a coalition of species who preferred an emotionally awakened alien warlord to the alternative. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was real. Her console chimed. Incoming transmission from Kazreth. When Maya accepted it, she saw that he was no longer on his command deck. He was in what looked like a smaller, more private chamber. His exoskeleton was scored with damage. His 4 eyes were heavy with exhaustion. But there was something else there too. Something that might have been peace. I won. His mandibles clicked softly. I fought my own government for the right to continue learning from you. And I won. The High Council has retreated. My position is secure. The hegemony is mine to reshape however I choose. What will you do? Maya asked. I do not know yet. Kazreth leaned back, and for the first time since she had met him, he looked almost relaxed. I have questions I never knew to ask. About how to govern with compassion instead of fear. About how to maintain an empire while caring about the beings within it. About how to balance efficiency with empathy. I will need advisors. I will need help. I will need beings who understand what I am trying to become better than I do myself. You have Scholar Vethic, Maya said. And apparently you have the support of multiple species who want to see you succeed at this transformation. I do. And I have something else. Kazreth's mandibles shifted into what Maya had learned to recognize as determination. I have an agreement to honor. I promised you that if you taught me about love, I would get you home to your daughter as quickly as possible. I intend to keep that promise. Maya felt her breath catch. When? Now. A ship is already en route to your station. It will take you to Earth using Th'karr hyperspace technology. You will be home in 3 days. You will see Emily before the week is out. Kazreth paused. I am keeping my word, Maya Chen. You gave me more than I knew I needed. The least I can do is give you what you need most. Thank you. Maya could barely get the words out through her tears. Thank you. It is I who should thank you. Kazreth's 4 eyes held steady on hers, and Maya saw in them something she never expected to see in an alien warlord. Gratitude, affection, connection. You accidentally sent me a message meant for your daughter, and you changed my life. You changed the course of the hegemony. You changed the future of countless beings across the galaxy, all because you love your child and were brave enough to show me what that love looks like. I was just being myself. Maya said it through her tears. Exactly. That is what made it powerful. You were authentic and honest and messily, beautifully human. Never apologize for that. Kazreth leaned forward. Go home, Maya Chen. Hold your daughter. Be with her. Live the life you fought so hard to give her. And know that somewhere in the galaxy, an alien who learned to feel because of you is trying to build something better than what came before. What happens to us? Maya asked. To our connection? Do we just say goodbye and never speak again? We will stay in contact. Kazreth's mandibles clicked with certainty. I will still have questions. I will still need guidance. You are my teacher, Maya Chen. That does not end simply because the lessons are temporarily paused. When I encounter situations where I do not understand the emotional component, I will ask you. When I need to remember why compassion matters, I will think of your stories about stars in the darkness. We are bound now, whether we intended it or not. You and me, the human mother and the alien sovereign, the accidental teacher and the reluctant student. I would like that. Maya realized she meant it. Despite everything, despite the terror and the civil war and the impossible responsibility of transforming an alien warlord, she had grown to care about Kazreth, to want him to succeed, to hope that his transformation would make the galaxy a better place. 3 hours later, the transport ship arrived. Sleek and fast and bearing Kazreth's personal insignia, Maya gathered her few belongings, said goodbye to the station that had been her prison and her classroom, and boarded the vessel that would take her home. The journey was nothing like her original transport out to Helios 7. This was Th'karr technology, advanced beyond anything humanity had achieved. The ship jumped to hyperspace almost immediately, and the pilot informed her they would reach Earth orbit in 72 hours. Maya spent most of that time trying to figure out what she would say to Emily. How did you explain to your teenage daughter that you had accidentally started a galactic incident, taught an alien warlord about love, triggered a civil war, and somehow emerged as a minor celebrity whose story was being told across multiple species? How did you make her understand that everything that happened was because of the love Maya felt for her? She settled for the truth. A long message, recorded in the ship's communication suite, explaining everything. The accidental routing error, Kazreth's questions, the transformation, the battle, the coalition that came to support a sovereign who asked about civilian casualties, all of it. And at the end, the only words that really mattered. I love you, Emily. Everything I did, every choice I made, every word I spoke to Kazreth about what love means, it was all rooted in what I feel for you. You are my star. You always have been. I am coming home now. I am coming home, and I hope you can forgive me for the time I was away. I hope you can understand why I left and why I stayed even when things got complicated. I hope we can start again and rebuild what the distance damaged. But even if you are still angry, even if you need time, even if you cannot forgive me yet, I need you to know that I love you. That has never changed. That will never change. I am coming home to you, sweetheart. Finally, I am coming home. Maya sent the message and then waited, nervous and hopeful and terrified, as the ship hurtled through hyperspace toward Earth. 72 hours later, the transport emerged in Earth orbit. Maya stood at the viewport, looking down at the blue and green planet she had left almost 4 months ago. Somewhere down there, Emily was living her life, going to school, staying with Aunt Jennifer, probably still angry at her mother for leaving. The pilot informed her they would be landing at a secured spaceport in Chicago within the hour. Diplomatic protocols had been arranged. Maya would be processed quickly and released to her family. The Th'karr Hegemony, under its newly compassionate sovereign, was making sure she got home without bureaucratic complications. The landing was smooth, the processing was efficient. And then Maya was walking through the spaceport, her legs shaky from gravity after months in the station's low rotation, her heart pounding as she moved toward the arrival area where Aunt Jennifer had said she would be waiting with Emily. Maya saw them before they saw her. Jennifer, tall and practical, scanning the crowd. And beside her, Emily, 14 years old, taller than Maya remembered, her dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, her face set in that carefully neutral expression teenagers used when they did not want to show what they were feeling. Maya's daughter, her star, the reason for everything. "Emily!" Maya called out, her voice breaking on the name. Emily's head snapped toward her. Their eyes met, and for a moment, nothing moved. Mother and daughter, separated by 3 meters and 4 months, and so much pain and anger and misunderstanding. Then Emily was running, not walking, running, crashing into Maya with enough force to nearly knock her over, arms wrapping around her, face pressed into her shoulder, and Maya felt her daughter shaking with sobs. "I was so scared." Emily's voice was muffled against Maya's jacket. "I was so angry at you for leaving. And then I heard about the alien fleet and the Civil War, and everyone was saying you might die. And I was so scared I would never see you again, and I never got to tell you I was sorry for being angry. And I love you, Mom. I love you so much. I am sorry I was mad. Please do not ever leave again, please." Maya held her daughter and felt her own tears mixing with Emily's. "I am so sorry, sweetheart. I am so sorry I left. I am so sorry I hurt you. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong, and I am sorry. I love you. I love you more than anything. You are my star, Emily. You always have been." They stood there in the middle of the spaceport, holding each other, crying together, while Aunt Jennifer watched with her own tears and gave them space for their reunion. Around them, other travelers passed by, most not even noticing the mother and daughter clinging to each other like lifelines, but a few recognized Maya. A few whispered to companions, "That is her, the woman who taught the alien sovereign about love, the communications technician who accidentally changed the galaxy." Maya did not care. Let them whisper. Let them tell stories. All that mattered was Emily in her arms, solid and real and alive. Her daughter. Her heart. The reason she had endured months of isolation and accidentally started a diplomatic incident and taught an alien warlord what sacrifice meant. Eventually, Emily pulled back enough to look at her mother's face. "Did you really teach an alien warlord about love by accident?" Maya laughed through her tears. "Yes, I really did. That is the weirdest thing I have ever heard." Emily's expression was caught between amazement and amusement and residual tears, and also kind of amazing. "You are like the least likely person to start a galactic incident, and you just casually did it because you sent me a love letter to the wrong address. That is exactly what happened." Maya cupped her daughter's face in her hands. "I was thinking about you, missing you, wishing I could tell you how much you meant to me. And I accidentally told an alien sovereign instead, and it changed everything. You are going to have to tell me the whole story." Emily's eyes were bright with curiosity, all of it, every detail, from the beginning. "I will." Maya pulled her daughter close again. "I will tell you everything. We have time now. We have all the time in the world." They went home to Aunt Jennifer's apartment, where Maya would stay until she figured out what came next. Her contract with the Galactic Transit Authority had been formally terminated, but the Th'karr Hegemony had compensated her far beyond what she would have earned. Money for Emily's college, for a new apartment, for the stability Maya had been chasing when she took the assignment to Helios 7. Over the next days and weeks, Maya told Emily everything, about Kazreth's questions and her attempts to explain love, about the stories she had shared and the transformation she had witnessed, about the battle and the coalition and the choice Kazreth had made to fight for the right to keep feeling. Emily listened to all of it, fascinated and occasionally horrified and ultimately proud. "My mom is a galactic hero," she told her friends, half joking and half serious. "She accidentally reformed an alien empire because she loves me." It was not quite that simple, but Maya let her daughter tell the story however she wanted. The truth was complicated and messy and still unfolding. The Th'karr Hegemony was changing under Kazreth's new leadership. Slowly, painfully, but changing nonetheless. New protocols for conquered populations, considerations for emotional impact, the beginning of something that might eventually be called compassionate imperialism, if such a thing was possible. Kazreth contacted Maya regularly, sometimes with questions about specific situations, sometimes just to talk, to process what he was experiencing as he tried to govern with empathy instead of pure logic. Maya answered when she could, offering what insights she had, but mostly just listening, being present for someone who was learning to navigate a world where feelings mattered. 6 months after Maya returned to Earth, Kazreth sent a message that made her sit down hard in her chair. "I wanted you to know something. I have begun a program within the hegemony. Young Th'karr, after their standard education, will now spend time with families from other species, learning about emotional bonds, experiencing connection, understanding what it means to care about others. It is controversial. Many of the older generation view it as weakness training, but I am determined. I do not want any more Th'karr to grow up as empty as I was. I want them to have the chance to feel from the beginning, rather than having to learn it at 200 years old because a human woman accidentally sent me a love letter." The message continued. "This is your legacy, Maya Chen. Not just changing me, but changing the course of an entire species. In 100 years, the Th'karr may be unrecognizable from what they were. We may become a people who value connection as highly as efficiency, who govern with compassion instead of fear, who understand that love is not weakness but the most important strength there is. This transformation begins with you, with your daughter, with a message sent to the wrong address that taught me everything I did not know I was missing." Maya showed the message to Emily that evening. They sat together on the couch in their new apartment, the one Maya had been able to afford thanks to Th'karr compensation, and read Kazreth's words together. "So you basically reformed an entire alien species." Emily said it with teenage casualness that could not quite hide her awe. "I accidentally sent a message to the wrong person," Maya corrected. "Everything else was just people choosing to change. You made them want to change, though." Emily leaned against her mother's shoulder. "You showed them what they were missing. That is important, Mom. That is huge." "Maybe." Maya wrapped her arm around her daughter. "Or maybe I was just honest about loving you, and it resonated with someone who had never experienced that kind of love. Either way, I am just glad I am home. I am glad I get to be here with you. Everything else is just bonus." They sat together in comfortable silence, mother and daughter, close enough to feel each other breathing. Outside their window, Chicago sprawled in its familiar chaos, Earth turning on its axis, the galaxy spinning through space, and somewhere among the stars, an alien sovereign was learning to govern with compassion because a human mother had accidentally taught him that love was worth fighting for. Maya thought about the message she had sent that night on Helios 7, the desperate outpouring of love to a daughter she missed with everything she had. She thought about how a simple routing error had changed her life, had changed Kazreth's life, had potentially changed the course of galactic history. She thought about stars in the darkness, about promises kept, about the power of connection in a universe that often felt cold and empty, about a scared 3-year-old who had needed comfort and a 42-year-old communications technician who had provided it with a story, about how small moments of love could ripple outward in ways impossible to predict. And she held her daughter close, grateful beyond words that she had made it home, grateful that Emily had forgiven her, grateful that somehow, impossibly, everything had worked out. Her console chimed with another message. From Kazreth, short this time, simple. "Thank you for teaching me about stars in the darkness. I understand now what you meant. Love is the light that shines even when we cannot see it, even across impossible distances, even when logic says it should not matter. You are Emily's star, and you have become one of mine. Thank you for that gift. Thank you for accidentally changing everything." Maya read the message twice, then sent a simple response. "You are welcome. And thank you for letting me come home to mine." She closed the console and turned back to Emily, to the present moment, to the life she had fought so hard to get back to. The galaxy would keep spinning, Kazreth would keep learning, the Th'karr Hegemony would keep transforming. But right now, in this moment, Maya was exactly where she needed to be, home, with her daughter, her star, her everything, and that was more than enough.